Okay, back to Like a Slow Burning Fire, and we're going to be doing chapter 10. Chapter 10 is called Uplands Airport. I hop in my car and drive to the Harveys at Maryville and Baseline. I order a burger and fries, and when the guy who puts the stuff in the burger says the usual, I say, yeah, thanks, and think, bad sign. I sit in my car and pound back my burger with mustard, onions, and pickles with the greasy fries and a Diet Coke. I reach into the glove box and pull out a cassette. Simon and Garfunkel in Central Park. I start the car and pop it in. As I'm about to make a left out of the parking lot, some guy in a blue Nova is making a right into the parking lot. Far to the left, and it's a tight turn for him. So while he's coming in, he yells at me, "Suck shit, dickhead!" I glance over my left shoulder, and his head's turned towards me. I see that he's about my age, and he's wearing a backwards ball cap and Ray-Bans, and he's giving me the finger, stabbing the air with it. Fuck you, fuck you. Part of me wants to jump out of my car and run up to his shitty blue Nova and tell him to go fuck himself. The other part wants to stare straight ahead, like nothing happened. I see an opening in traffic, so I ease my foot down on the gas and make a left while Homeward Bound plays. I turn right at the lights heading east down Baseline. I roll the window down and turn up the music. The early evening air is cool and breezy, and the sky is rain's coming slate gray. I look down at my feet and see a few onions with bright yellow mustard on them staring up at me. I sweep them under the seat with my left foot, and I'm wondering what that idiot's problem was. Suck shit, dickhead. I imagine him stuffing his fat face at Harvey's, leaving his tray full of garbage for the next poor bastard to deal with, while he struts to his shitty Nova and peels out of the parking lot. Then out of nowhere, this 18-wheeler bombing down Maryville T-bones his ignorant loudmouth ass. Then I drive by and his shitbox Nova is a pile of twisted metal with smoke coming out of it. And he's lying on the road all mangled and moaning, and his backwards ball cap and his stupid Ray-Bans are lying there beside him. I slowly drive by and lean out the window and yell, "Ha, dickhead, suck shit," as I hear the satisfying crunch of his Ray-Bans beneath my tires. I laugh to myself, and the lady in the next lane looks over at me like I'm demented, probably because I said the dickhead part out loud. I take a right onto Bronson and head south towards the airport. One hot summer day when I was a kid, my dad and I went for a drive to Uplands Airport. We drove with the windows down, while the old man sang along to Hank Williams, "Hey, good looking, what you got cooking?" While he tapped out the rhythm on the steering wheel with the rings on his fingers, clackety clack, clackety clack. We parked on the side of the road outside this chain link fence and got out of the car and laid down on the hood with our arms folded across our chests and our backs against the windshield. My dad said, "Look up," and right then this huge plane came roaring through the sky, and I thought if I reached my arms in the air, I could touch its left wing. We watched it fall closer to the earth until its wheels touched the ground and squealed, and my dad said, can you smell the burning rubber?" And I said, "Yeah." We watched a few more planes come in for landing, and I loved how the wind rushed past us as the plane swept over our heads. Then my dad said, "Time for ice cream," and we hopped in the car and went to the old school Dairy Queen on Bank Street. I got a lime slushie, and my dad got this huge vanilla ice cream cone. And when we were driving home, he told me a story about how after World War I, his grandfather in Ireland had two families and lived a double life, one in England and one in Ireland. And I was like, wow, that's nuts. Then my dad went to toss his ice cream cone out the window into a field, only the window wasn't rolled down, and its ice cream smashed into the window, and he yelled out, "Jesus, Mary, and fucking Joseph." And I laughed so hard, lime slushy came out of my nose. I'm thinking about all this when I pull over to the side of the road not far from where my dad and I parked that summer day so many years ago. I put the car in park and turn the key back so I can hear Simon and Garfunkel play while I'm lying on the hood. I stretch out with my back against the windshield and my arms folded across my chest. I stare into the slate gray sky while The Boxer plays from the tape deck. As soon as I hear that opening line about the poor boy with the story, I'm taken back to grade 12, Murray McDonald's basement, May 28th, 1982. It's a Friday night and it's getting towards midnight, and everyone else is in Murray's backyard while I'm in the basement slow dancing to The Boxer with Bonnie, this girl from school I've been getting to know. As I lie in the hood of my Mustang listening to that song, I can feel Bonnie in my arms. I'm 17 and she's 16. We've had something brewing for a couple months. A few weeks earlier, I'd asked her friend Colleen if she thought Bonnie would go to the year-end grad with me. And later that day at school, I saw Colleen in the hall and she said, "Hey, Bonnie said yes." I said, "You weren't supposed to ask her." And she said, "I did. And it's the right answer. So shut up," which shocked me because it meant I'd have a date for grad, and who'd have thought? The boxer slides into old friends, and I'm thinking of that night in Murray's basement and how it was just Bonnie and me and Simon and Garfunkel in the dark when she looked up at me and kissed me, and it was the best kiss I'd ever had. Not that there was much competition. And while I'm stretched out on the hood of my car, I hear a plane rush in, and then it's right on top of me, and the wind's blowing my hair and making me squint my eyes. But I barely notice because it's 1982, and I'm in Murray's basement, and Old Friends is playing. But that sweet little moment in Murray's basement wasn't as sweet as it should have been because the girl in my arms was spinning and broken. 2 weeks earlier, Bonnie's sister, who just turned 20, died suddenly after contracting spinal meningitis. I knew Bonnie had left school early that day because her sister was sick, but it wasn't until the next afternoon when I called Bonnie's house to see if she wanted to go to the drive-in that night that she told me her sister had died. I was stunned. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and I didn't know what to do, so I asked Bonnie if she wanted some company, and she said yes. So I called Hopper and told him the news, then drove to his house to pick him up so we could visit Bonnie together. When I pulled into Hopper's driveway, he got in the car, and the Beatles' "In My Life" was playing. Hopper said, "How the fuck can you listen to this right now?" And I said, "It was playing when I got in the car. I didn't even notice." So we went to Bonnie's house, and she was broken and crying, and so were her mom and dad. Hopper and I didn't know what to say. We went into the backyard with Bonnie, and she talked about what happened and how it was sudden, and it felt like a nightmare, but it was real. Hopper hugged her, and I hugged her, and then we sat on the edge of the back deck and drank lemonade and stared at the ground while Bonnie's dad polished their big blue Pontiac in the driveway, and her mom cried in the kitchen while washing the dishes. After that night in Murray's basement, Bonnie became my first real girlfriend, and then one night a few months later, we were on our way home from a party at Britannia Beach. It was late, and the moon was shining bright, and I was driving. Before this night, Bonnie hadn't talked about her sister that much. I'd ask her how she was doing with it, and she'd say she didn't want to talk about it, that her sister was gone and she wasn't coming back, so there was nothing to say. But that night, she'd been drinking, and we were driving down Pinecrest past the cemetery where her sister had been buried. Bonnie pointed to the cemetery and said, "My sister lives there now, forever and ever, and I don't like it," and started to cry. "I don't believe in God anymore," she said through her tears, "because one minute you love your life and everything's perfect, then lightning strikes and your sister's dead and it's not there and it makes no fucking sense. And I can't let myself think about it because it hurts so much, so fucking much. So I just keep going and going and I don't let myself stop and think and feel because look what happens when I do, so I can't. I fucking can't." I didn't know what to say, so I reached my arm over to her hand and grabbed it and held it. Then I pulled the car over to the side of the road on that moonlit night and put my arms around my girl and pulled her close and held her tight as she sobbed and sobbed some more. Bonnie and I were together for 3 years, and like most relationships at that age, it was good until it wasn't. What we had ran its course like a book or a movie. Starts out pure and simple, then gets messy and complicated till it blows up and it's over. And along the way, everything was heightened. The closeness, the bond, the fun times, as well as the drift, the fights, and the bad times that led to the Great Divide. And now, 6 years later, I'm lying on the hood of a car by the airport all by myself instead of drinking beer with my pals at the Prescott or eating zucchini with my girlfriend at Hurley's while a plane rushes over my head as the sound of silence plays and I'm stuck in a moment with the girl I once loved, wondering what will happen if I stop and think and feel. And that is the end of chapter 10.